Yes, even video gamers go outside. So I've been asked by a lot of people that I know personally, not on YouTube, why I'm so into video games. Like, why video games and not something more feminine? I guess they seem so curious because it's not every day that you run into a girl that loves to play video games and that is serious about it. I guess is serious to even make like a YouTube channel on gaming. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, how and why I got into video games. I'm the middle child and the only girl between two brothers. I did have my dolls and my Barbies when I was younger, and I would play with them, but I didn't really have anybody to play with. So I just got used to playing with boy toys, because that way I could play with my older brother or my younger brother. So I grew up playing with Hot Wheels, with Ghostbusters toys, Ninja Turtle toys, the Thundercats, Transformers. I mean, my mom wasn't very happy about it, but it's what made me happy because I had someone to play with, and I actually liked it. I remember my older brother had a Nintendo, and the two games that I remember the most from the Nintendo was Mario Brothers 3 and Zelda. We had the gold cartridge for Zelda. I remember always looking at it, but never really being able to play it because it was broken. It was messed up. I don't know what happened to it. We never did find out what happened to it, and it just never worked. And Mario 3, that game was so much fun. I remember when we got it. I remember the day we got it. My brothers and I were fighting to see who would hold it on the way home. But yeah, we played that game a lot, and I loved all the Mario games. We would play Street Fighter. I was always Guile, or we'd play Mortal Kombat, um, Metroid, Mega Man, all those old school games, we'd play them. One of my favorites, though, was Rampage. I loved that game so much. I don't know why. When I went to the arcade the other day, I actually had to play it because it's just such an awesome memory that I have, and I had so much fun playing it, so um, I'll never forget those games. Later on, some of my favorite games were Star Fox, and my brother got his first copy of Harvest Moon. I fell in love with that game, and I still, to this day, love that game so much. Every Harvest Moon title that comes out that is for the Nintendo, I have to buy it. Harvest Moon really made an impact on me. I'll tell you why later. The first console that I ever owned that was mine was the Sega Genesis. I got it for my birthday. I don't remember how old I was, but if you guys remember when The Lion King came out, it was shortly after that because I got the Lion King game and I was a huge fan of Lion King. So that's when my dad bought me the Genesis and bought me the game. That was the first game that I ever beat in my whole life. I hadn't even beaten any of the Marios, nothing. I guess because I was young. And I was so proud of it. I mean, I would go to people and I'd tell them, I beat Lion King. It was the first game I've ever beat. The first-person shooter game that I ever played was GoldenEye 007. I remember the gold gun and everything, and I'd play with my brother. And it was a lot of fun, but I never really got used to the whole first-person shooter thing. I just never felt comfortable with it. As much as I liked that game, I always stayed away from first-person shooters because I didn't feel comfortable. So when I got older, I wasn't such a hardcore gamer as I am now, but I did play video games. I didn't really get into the mature video games, like the Xbox games, like Call of Duty and Halo and all those games, because I just didn't feel like I was good at it. So I just stayed away from it, and I did watch my brother play them. And you know, when I started to play those mature games, I think the first game that I played that I can remember was Gears of War. When Gears of War came out, it wasn't the first person, so I was like, hey, that looks pretty cool. I think I could do that. And it was mature, and I loved it. I fell in love with Gears of War. After Gears of War, that's when I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to start giving this whole mature game, Xbox, a try. Because I was always sticking to the Nintendo. So after that, I started playing Fable. I played Fable 1, and I loved it. And then Mass Effect My brother bought Mass Effect, I think the day it came out, and he played it, and I was watching him play it, and I was like, wow, that's a pretty cool concept. But that was it. He stopped playing. He never beat it. I never played it. Maybe until like a year after he had bought Mass Effect, I actually played it, and that's when I fell in love with it. I was like, wow, this game is so cool. And what I was talking about Harvest Moon is, I think the reason why I'm so into games that BioWare releases is because BioWare implements a lot of stuff in their games that I grew up with. A lot of their games are RPG games, and I didn't really grow up with RPG games, but I grew up with like strategy games like Zelda and Harvest Moon. The thing that I loved about Harvest Moon was that you could have a relationship with other characters. You could form friends, and you could even marry people, and it was very like a very personable experience. And that's what BioWare has, a more mature version of it, but they have it in their games. And when I saw that, I was like, whoa. Another reason why I'm so into video games is because I love to write. I've been making stories since I was a little kid. I didn't write, but I did draw comics. So I would make my own stories in comic form. It was kind of cheesy and everything, but I liked to do it. As I got older, when I turned 14, that's when I started to actually write, to actually get into RPGs, like actual written RPGs. After I was out of high school, I really started to learn how to write, like really write, like novelistic type of writing, and that's when I started to write my own stories. Instead of just creating characters, I actually started to make storylines and plots and more in depth. And I think that's why I also love video games, because I'm so into creating a story and so into creating a character and seeing how that develops on paper. And in video games, it just takes it to the next level, because it's not just on paper, you're actually seeing it happen. And that's another reason why I love BioWare, because their games make you a part of a story that you are almost writing. And I love that. I love to be able to observe another person's story, like another world, new things, like things that you don't really see here. That's why I love video games, because you're in a different life, you're in a different story, and I think that's one of the most interesting things to me, to be able to not only create a different life, but also kind of live it. So that's the major reasons why I love video games, not only because I grew up with them, but also because of the things that I enjoy to do. Video games they incorporate everything that I love about writing. To me, video games are more of an interactive style of almost writing a story, which really intrigues me, and they're just fun. So yeah, that's the gamer behind Gamermd83. I'll see you guys later.